What are the elements of being? What is the very fabric of the universe? And can we humans ever fully categorize everything from the smallest of particles to the biggest and most enormous of cosmic entities? Well, the philosopher Donald Cary Williams sure made a good attempt at this. So today we're talking about his trope theory. So what are tropes? And can they really explain everything in the universe? Well, I first encountered this theory not too long ago, and my initial thought was that, oh, this is just another version of nominalism in which I knew I wouldn't approve of. But then I read Donald Cary Williams' paper on the elements of being and was completely blown away by his theory, which is both elegant and aesthetically pleasing. When we talk about ontology, ontology meaning what actually exists out there, then we have two very important virtues that we have been discussing before. Firstly, explanatory power. We want to be able to explain everything in the universe. And ontological economy, meaning we want to restrict our ontology to the fewest amount of categories. If we don't need an entity, then we should utilize Occam's razor and cut it away. And the thing is that trope theory does an amazing job in both of these regards. Because the thing with trope theory is that through it, we can basically explain everything in the universe. And what's even better is that we're actually restricting our ontology to one category, which is just amazing because everything is made up of tropes. So it sounds pretty good, huh?
To clarify, when I say everything, I mean everything, as in objects and their properties. I don't think you can explain the nature of time or the nature of modality using only trope theory. And also, if we were to compare Plato's universals theory with trope theory, what makes trope theory a better theory when it comes to ontological economy is that trope theory only postulates one category, like I said before, while Plato, on the other hand, postulates both universals and particulars, and also that there's some kind of relation of participation between the two.
There are different versions of trope theory, but I will here continue with Donald Cary Williams' theory, which is sometimes also considered the box standard view of tropes. So let me explain trope theory through his example. So let's talk about lollipops.
Williams wants us to consider 3 lollipops. Each of these 3 lollipops are similar in some respects, but also different in other respects. Williams begins by giving names to the first 2 lollipops, Heraplem and Boaner. A part of each lollipop consists of a stick, which is also given a name, Paraplete and Marinal. The whole particular lollipops, Heraplem and Boanerp, are similar in the way that their sticks are exactly similar. Here, Williams writes on the topic of exact resemblance that we admit literally and seriously that to say that A is partially similar to B is to say that a part of A is wholly or completely similar to a part of B. So the sticks of the lollipops, for an example, completely resembles each other. But an important note here is that even though the sticks are exactly similar, they are not the same, they are distinct. We can then continue to make up names for the even finer parts of each lollipop, such as their particular shape and color.
What's important here is that we're not naming what kind of shape or what kind of color it is. We're naming each individual instance. Just like we're naming a baby at a baptism. We're not naming what kind of a baby it is, right? We're naming an individual.
Another important fact about these names is, for instance, that harlack, which is the color component of heraplem, should not be seen as an abbreviation of the color component of heraplem. It is the name for this single unique entity of color. It is a trope. And the way we should look at heraplem and boanerp of having the same shape is in the same way we would look at two soldiers having the same uniform. Sameness in this matter is different from when we say that two children have the same father.
We can go on and give names to the even more finer and more subtle details of each lollipop. But the point is that each entity is unique. As unique as a child with a name, so should we treat each entity. And these finer details are just as real as the bigger and grosser parts. The grosser parts should be considered as concrete particulars, like the lollipop is a concrete particular, and the more abstract and finer details, such as the shape and the color, is considered abstract.
But the more we combine these abstract components, the more concrete it becomes. Color plus shape plus weight plus length, etc. equals the whole concrete particular lollipop. So an object we perceive is the sum of tropes. All the abstract and finer components discussed should be considered as the primary constituents of reality, the alphabet of being, the tropes. Even though these finer details are called abstract, these constituents are actual in the real sense, for every object in the world are compositions or compounds of these tropes. They are as real as it gets. Williams settles on a definition of a trope as being a particular entity, either abstract or consisting of one or more concrete in combination with an abstractum.
But what do we mean here with the term abstract? In our day and age, the term abstract is commonly used when we refer to something that is mental or imprecise. But Williams wants us to return to the old meaning of the word, that being when something is fragmentary, partial, or incomplete. In other words, tropes.
So through this way of thinking, everything in the world except the world all is abstractions from the world all. Abstracts are real existing things. There's nothing imprecise about them.
If we ask ourselves the question, what is a baby's first experience of the world? Is he or she experiencing a world filled with universals? Or maybe a world only with particulars? Neither. He or she is experiencing a world full of tropes. The roundness of a ball, the sweetness of honey, and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, as it is with all philosophical theories, it has its problems. And if you want to know more about these problems, then please leave a comment down below and I might make an episode about it. And if you're not satisfied with trope theory, then I suggest you watching this video here on the rival theory of universals. But As always, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care until the next one.